Hello everybody! In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I applied as an assistant language teacher of English here in Japan. So, an assistant language teacher or an ALT is a native speaker of English who comes to Japan to teach English to the Japanese students. The term assistant is because we are just assistants to the Japanese teachers of English. So there are Japanese teachers of English and we just assist them and help them in lesson planning and in lesson teaching. There are two ways to land a teaching job here in Japan if you're from the Philippines. The first way is through the JET program, which I am not very familiar of because I did not come from JET. So the second way is the way which I did. I applied through an agency and the agency's name is Chesham. This agency is the only agency that is licensed by the POEA to deploy English teachers here in Japan. I want you to be very careful when you choose an agency or when you apply for a teaching job here in Japan, because the only agency that is legal to send Filipinos to teach English here in Japan is through Chesham. Also, in this video, I'm only going to be talking about the process on how Filipinos could land a job here in Japan. I'm not going to be talking about the process for the native speakers like those coming from America or from the UK, because their process is different from Filipinos. Also, if you're a Filipino teaching and living already abroad, this process isn't for you because I think you can apply directly to Interact. That's the name of the company I work with here in Japan. So let's talk about the process. This video is probably gonna be very long because the process is really in itself very long. Chesham accepts applicants whole year round. This is because of the high demand of English teachers here in Japan. And nowadays, they have been recruiting more and more Filipino teachers from the Philippines because they think that Filipinos can teach English very well. First, I sent my resume on February 16th, 2015. I wasn't really expecting a really quick response from them because I just sent a resume and I wasn't really expecting that they would reply soon. So I didn't check my email until 2 days after. So when I checked my email, they actually sent me a response on the day, on February 16th, 2015. They emailed me back and invited me to a free orientation seminar in Manila. Back then, I was still working in Cebu as an ESL teacher. I have to fly to Manila to attend the orientation seminar. Also, I'm going to warn you that the process is quite expensive, so you really have to have some money with you because you will be flying in and out Manila. You have to fly to Manila to do everything. I did my orientation on March 17th, 2015. I think we were only 35 who were invited to that orientation seminar. This agency is really transparent about the process, about the fees, and about the cost. It was a whole day seminar. It started from around 9 or 10 and it ended around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So after the orientation seminar, some of us were really confused if we will pursue the application because the application is really difficult and it will really cost a lot of money. At that orientation seminar, we were given all the list of requirements, the documents, and handouts we should be studying in case we want to pursue the application. So after the orientation seminar, we were given about a month to think about it if we want to continue. I think 3 weeks after the orientation, they sent us again an email inviting us to come to the accent assessment and English proficiency exam. I cannot really remember anymore the exact date, but I know that it happened sometime around April. Due to the intense nature of the application process, I decided to quit my job first week of April. So I went back to Davao and started gathering all the documents, all the requirements. Although at this point, you're still not really sure if you're gonna get the job or not. For aspiring applicants, I don't want to recommend you to quit your job just because you're applying for this, because you might not get the job because, again, the application is really intense. You can just maybe ask your boss to be absent for some days. If you still have a job, tell your boss that you are applying for a job because you will be in and out of Manila if you're not from Manila. So I did the accent assessment and English proficiency test sometime around April, probably third week of April. We were 4 in the morning we did the accent assessment exam. Here, they will ask you to read one paragraph and they will film you while reading. The director of the agency, an Irishman, he is very perfectionist. Perfectionist, I think, is even an understatement. You should be pronouncing the words clearly and correctly, and you shouldn't be stammering in the video. If you stammer or if you mispronounce a word, you should again read from the top. He wants the videos to be flawless. The good thing about this part of the application is that you can refilm your videos. The article is just really short and simple. There weren't really words that are really difficult to pronounce. It was really just simple and short. So there's nothing to worry about. You don't have to practice a lot. But I was really nervous. So they had to refilm my video around 15 times, which was really awkward. I can feel the secretary annoyed at me. So if you can do it 5 times, then do it 5 times. Immediately after you do the accent assessment, you have to wait for around 20 minutes because the director will review your video and see if you have a neutral accent. They don't want to hear a locally accented English. They don't want you to be speaking like this. They want you to be talking like this. Since the director is a perfectionist, there are a lot of people who fail in this part of the process. So my tip is just to speak clearly and confidently beautiful with a heart. So after the accent assessment, you will have to wait for around 20 to 30 minutes and the director will call you and you enter his office and then he will be giving you the feedback whether or not you passed the accent assessment. So if you didn't pass but you still want to continue, they would require you to attend an accent reduction seminar. But if you pass, then you can proceed to the next part of the application, which is the English proficiency test that will be done in the afternoon. So the next step is the English proficiency test. In this part, all 4 of us were inside a testing area. We were given a 40-item or 50-item test. And if my memory serves me right, we were given 30 minutes to answer the questionnaire. So my tip for this part is that you should review with grammar, the parts of speech, spelling, basic ESL stuff, STVDO, STVO, you know, that thing. And also there was an essay part at the end of this test. You don't really have to worry about this part because the topics are generally easy. You will just write an essay for one topic. Topics are really just anything under the sun. It can be about animals, it can be about hiking, your hobbies, or it can be about talents or whatnot, something like that. I'm gonna give you one tip on how to ace this part. So for the essay part, what was on my mind while organizing my thoughts on what to write on that paper, a sudden realization came into my mind. I thought of, if I will write a very long essay, I'm surely gonna commit more mistakes. I'm not really that confident with my writing. I mean, I can write. You know the maxim, less talk, less mistake. So the less I write, the less mistakes I commit. And so I wrote a very short essay. It was very short. I think it was just 7 sentences. You don't really have to make a 15-sentence paragraph just to impress the director. And you don't really have to write a very scholarly article or a very scholarly essay just to prove that you can really write well. If you want to impress the director and if you are really confident about your writing, then go ahead. But if you want to be safe, then do what I did. I just answered the essay direct to the point with clear and easy words because I'm gonna be going to Japan and I'm gonna be teaching English to Japanese students. They don't know highfalutin words. My tip is to make your essay really simple and concise using words that are easy to understand. Right after the test, you will again wait for around 30 minutes to an hour because after the test, you will be given immediate feedback by the director if you pass this part of the process or not. So I entered the room and the director greeted me very cheerfully. He was really happy to see me again. And he told me the good news. He said that you passed, congratulations. For the essay part, he was really impressed, which I was surprised because the essay, guys, honestly, the essay, if you're in this part of the application, I recommend you to write as simple as you can because that's the way to impress the director. And now we're down to the last two parts of the application. So the last two parts are the interview and the teaching demo. These two are actually set on different dates, but since the director knew that I was flying from Davao, he kind of understood the struggle and the effort and the costs. He told me that my interview and teaching demo will be set in one day. For the interview, I was asked to come back on May 5th. Honestly, I think I underestimated the interview. I wasn't expecting for a 40-minute to an hour interview. It was the longest interview of my life. There were a lot of questions asked in the interview, from your teaching skills, teaching experience, situational questions about classroom management. I made mention before that they will give you handouts to study. So they will also ask you and check if you really study the material. Also, during the interview, you have to convince the director why you want to teach English in Japan. You have to prove in your answers why you want to teach in Japan. What are your motivations in coming to Japan to teach English? I think out of all the processes, I think this is the toughest because it will really test your skills, your communication skills. The interview questions will show what you are as a teacher and how you teach. After passing this part of the process, you can then move on to the last part. That is the teaching demo. So the whole teaching demo will be filmed because they will send the video to Tokyo, to the company that deploys ALTs here in Japan. There are 4 parts in the teaching demo. All the 4 parts of the teaching demo should only be 15 minutes or less. You can't exceed 15 minutes. First is the greetings, where you have to greet in Japanese and English. You have to talk about yourself for a minute. So second is the script reading. So for this part, you will be reading again the script that you read for the accent assessment test. The next part is warm-up. So you have to come up with a 3 to 4 minute warm-up, and you will just have imaginary students. There won't be any students in the room except for you and the secretary. So I know it can be really awkward, but you gotta do the hustle. You have to come up with an original idea for the warm-up part. So this will just be 3 to 4 minutes, and you can sing, you can dance, you can do action songs. It should be fun and interactive. And so for the last part of the teaching demo is the lesson proper. So you will be given 7 minutes, not more than 7 minutes. You will be given 2 options for this part. It's either you will do a lesson on directions or a lesson on script reading. Time management is really important because you have to fit all the 4 parts of the teaching demo in a 15-minute video. So after the video, you will be asked to wait for another hour or another 30 minutes or so. And then the secretary told me to get into the office. And the first words of the director, "Welcome to Japan." And so that was the time when I knew that I was going to Japan, and I passed the application process. If you have passed all these 5 stages, you are almost on your way to Japan. But that's not it. There are still documents to submit, requirements to submit, English proficiency documents to submit to prove that you can speak English like that of a native level. I will be talking about the second part, which is documents and requirements submission, on another video. So stay tuned for that video if you are interested in applying for a job here in Japan. That's all. So I'm gonna stop talking right now because this video is taking too long already. Bye!